It's from the graphic you're putting up. I see it. Okay, it's the border.
I could reorder it. Hang on a second. All right. Anyway, hi
I
everybody.
don't care, bro.
Hi everyone. Here we are. Time of our lives. Okay. I'm
Hmm.
fixing this. I'm trying to fix it so Romano doesn't have a big box on his head. Uh, it's funny because most people that do live streams would do this beforehand, but not us.
No, no,
We
no,
do
no.
we do it in front
We
of
want
everybody.
you to see what it actually takes to put on a podcast. So we
Yes,
hide.
exactly. Oh, you know what? Here it is. It's right there. It's fine. There's got to be some sort of a. So, oh, there's a border. I don't want a border. There we
Yeah,
go.
it was the border. Yeah, that was the
There we
problem.
go. All right, so now
Yeah.
put it back up. All right, there it is.
So
All
welcome
right.
home.
Thanks. Yeah, welcome home to you too. Hey, everybody.
You know,
Hopefully,
you know what's funny?
what?
We see each other twice a week, right,
Mm-hmm.
on here, and we've gotten to know each other pretty well over the course of the almost 2 years we've been doing this,
Yep.
and we've seen each other in person exactly 2 times.
Twice. I know. Twice. Yeah.
Twice.
There it is. It's
And it
always
doesn't
funny
really
too.
matter, does
I
it? I
know.
mean,
I mean, it's one thing. I guess if you're like dating somebody and this is how you meet them and then you see them in person, I can understand it being awkward, right? But
right.
honestly, it's with John, it feels pretty normal. Like it just was, I don't know, it's very seamless. And I think that says a lot. Also think it says a lot because we're pretty raw and open with each other about everything. So it's not like we're tiptoeing around or trying to have to be something we're not. I mean, if we're upset about something, we air it. If we're not, we do that too. But
Right.
and that weekend, listen, it's a rough weekend. It's tough. It's a lot.
Brutal. God, it's like cutting the trees after the storm. I feel like I'm going to the gym every single day. I feel like I'm in shape. And then I start doing some physical work outside. And then after 2 hours, I'm destroyed.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. I mean, I used to think back, I told my wife the other day, I must have been a fucking animal when I was young. And I didn't realize it because what the hell happened? Hello? You there?
Yeah. I can hear you. I can see you. I
My
can hear you.
my whole screen just went blank.
Uh-oh.
See, guys, this is what we deal with.
Oh,
Let me
well,
hang.
you should
There
see
we
some
go.
of the live stream when I watched it back. There was interference in some portions. Like it. I'm just not going to keep going because I'm going to get upset. So,
Right.
but yeah,
So
so
anyway,
you're kind of like I'm the same with you. Stopping, starting. Like I do something and then I'm like, ugh, I
yeah.
just don't have it in me right now.
The thing of it is that the Olympia has gotten so big
Mhm.
that it's not manageable in the time frame that it's allotted. And I mean, there's just too much going on at one time. You literally cannot see everything. You have to pick and choose. I mean, if you want to see the prejudging of the women's, of wellness, then you got to give up something else that's going on upstairs in another room. I mean, there was a whole second floor of expo I didn't even know about. I mean, those poor guys up there. There was nobody even said, "Hey, check out the second floor. We have more expo upstairs." But I don't understand why they couldn't have fit it all in the first floor. I just don't get some of the stuff that goes on.
I don't know. I will say I liked the second floor. I thought was awesome too. Like there was stuff to do up there, which I really enjoyed. I got to see the armored combat dudes doing some stuff. I got to play pickleball. There was a
Well,
ninja
oh, really?
warrior
Was
course.
there
Yeah.
that much room up there?
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, it was
You know,
huge. And I could listen. I talked to some of the folks up there. They were upset because the foot traffic was all downstairs.
Yeah, well, they
And
should put it. They should make announcements or something like, "Hey, there's no reason why they couldn't make an announcement for the start of the prejudgings that were going on, for the contests that were going on, for the stuff that was going on upstairs, for the stuff that was going on outside in the tent. There should have been announcements, to
yeah,
direct people, to what's going on. And I think it was really unfair to those guys upstairs that nobody directed anybody up there. There was no indication anywhere whatsoever that there was an expo. Part of the expo was upstairs.
no, I'm gonna find my sweatshirt. I'm freezing. But hey, one second.
I'm not trying to rain on the parade, by the way, but you travel all the way out there, even if you're from there, you're still making a commitment to an entire day to be present at the Olympia, at the expo, take it all in. You paid a ton of money for, one of those all-inclusive tickets. You should be apprised of what's going on, when it's starting, where it is, and so that you have some idea, unlike Zach, of where stuff is.
I have no idea where my clothes are. Honestly, because I have not unpacked yet, and it's such a mess around here. But no, it's not
Yeah.
about raining on parade. Look, there's pros and cons to everything, as you said. I think there was a lot of really really great on that first floor. You had a lot of really interesting people coming in and out. You had Shannon Sharp, which Frank ran into him and got a quick interview with him. I thought we
Mhm.
got to interview Brendan Schaub, who's a MMA fighter, which is pretty cool. And there's a lot of people running around. The thing
Mhm.
is, as John said, there's so much that to cover everything in 2 days and to make sure that you almost have to be in two places or three places at once if you
At
want to
one
be,
time, yeah.
and that's rough. And it sucks because I know that there was you went to the Hall of Fame ceremony, which was at the same time that some
Yep.
of the more popular people were on stage. It's like if you're paying for a ticket to go there, you make these choices. Do you want to see some of your favorite people from the past be recognized, or do you want to see the people that are currently there? So I
Right.
get it, man. I understand, and it seems it just seems like an impossible spot when you're a promoter unless you do a complete overhaul.
Yeah, I don't mean to rain on the parade. I thought overall, I mean, it was fantastic to be part of the 60th anniversary of the Olympia. There was so much going on. It was a lot of excitement. Everybody I ran into was just beside themselves with, excitement about what was going on. Were we going to get a new Mr. Olympia? Or, there was just a lot of buzz in the air. It was all really, really great. Any of the criticism I'm giving is just to make the damn thing better. So I'm not trying to, rag on it at all. It's
It's
with
not about
phenomenal production.
no
It's a
one's
giant
ragging on
job.
anything. No one's
Right.
ragging on anything. It's not about ragging. Like, and as
Right.
we've said before, if and I'll get to your question, comment, Elvis, the Bully King, that if you saw the amount of people that put this together and how it came together, you would be
It's
incredibly
astonishing.
surprised. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's
just like if you
astonishing.
look at this, if you look at social media, and look at the coverage on all of these channels, that's Frank Sepe. Period. That's one person.
Right.
One
Yeah.
person. And I mentioned that while we were there, and I want to mention it again, but that just goes to show that's kind of how it goes. A lot of people have a bunch of different jobs. I mean, so some of the
Didn't he
stuff
get
he's
he
put
got like 40 didn't he get like 47 million views on one of his posts?
on just one of his posts, yeah. And I
Just
mean,
one post.
and that's the thing, and he's everywhere. He's doing live reads, and it seems as though if you didn't know any better, it'd be like, oh well, obviously there's a team doing it, and you can't put a production like this on together. But I am saying that it's as much as people do want to complain sometimes and find things to complain about, the fact that it comes together with such a team that really puts their head down is it's pretty crazy. So that being said, no one's dumping on it here at all.
Yeah, no, not a
It's a
bit.
lot.
Not
It's a
even
lot,
one
and
bit.
those folks were exhausted. I could tell. They tried to do their best to keep a smile going. But
Yeah.
okay,
But I
let
want
me
I
see.
want to answer a bunch of questions today because I'm
All
sure
right.
people have them, and
Okay.
I
Here's
want to I want to
Elvis the
fill
Bully
them all
King.
in.
Okay, and I'm not really. I got to tell you, Elvis. I'm going to read this, but I don't know. I don't know where this is coming from. Do you think Jake Wood's progressive political activist views impacted Sampson winning? Jake Wood is
What?
not a progressive political
He is
activist,
as
sir.
far from a progressive as you could possibly. You have progressive on one end of the spectrum, and then you have Jake on the other end. That is
I've
the
talked to
dumbest thing I've ever heard right
I've
there.
talked to Jake numerous times about politics. In fact, I would say, if anything, I don't know. I've never actually come out and said it, but I would say he's an independent. He's very,
Yep.
he's not somebody that, to me anyway, prescribes to anything and just as dogma and just believes everything. He's actually, like I'd like to think I am, in a sense, skeptical of a lot of stuff and
Yeah.
wants to have information to before he makes his opinion known. But I don't really understand where that comes from. What do you mean by that?
Some people, I mean, I just don't understand how people formulate thoughts anymore. It's based on bullshit. And
But
it's just so stupid sometimes. It just boggles my mind that you can make a statement like that. Obviously, he's trying to infer that did Samson win because he's black. That's what the guy is saying. He's a
Oh,
progressive views. So was it because of his progressive views that the black guy won? What a dumb fucking thing to say. First of all, the promoter has zero sway,
not a
zero on
judge. He
who.
doesn't judge it. He's in the front row. He's watching.
Exactly. He's watching. He has absolutely zero influence on the judging. Absolutely zero. If he walked in there with $1 million and tried to give it to Steve Weinberger and said, "Make sure this guy wins," it would never happen.
No, he would
Never.
never do that anyway
So,
because he has too much
so
respect for the show and the competitors. He would never try to sit there. And
right,
I'm sure, just like everybody else, I'm sure he's got people that he wants to win that he may be more of a fan of. But at
right.
the end of the day, the judges judge. The promoter does not. So I don't
Not at all.
understand Elvis, the Bully King. Can maybe come on, dude? I mean, tell me what you mean by that, please. Like we're
I
trying to.
told you what he meant.
I
I
know, but
told you what he meant
I
by
would
that.
love to hear. I would love to hear his. I'd love to hear his side of it because
He's too afraid to say it.
yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to say
No,
that. It's
zero, none.
I mean but again, it makes sense though in the sense that when someone wins, it doesn't matter who it is, you're always going to have people that find a reason, find something wrong with what was done, and then they well, I guess that's the new it's politics. That's because that's what it always
Yeah,
had been, right?
yeah, it's in everywhere. The other thing you guys have to understand out there is that we are backstage. We are 2 inches from from the competitors. We know exactly what they look like. It is not blurred or distorted or in any way interrupted by a video feed, smoke in the air, the dirt on the camera lens, whatever. We are seeing exactly what it is, and you're not. It is not transferred. The graininess of Samson's skin did not transfer on video. That guy, when on Saturday night, was the most shredded guy on the planet, period. And that's it. That's the end of the story. You can bitch and moan and say this and that and the other thing. Doesn't matter. We were there. You were not. So we can see, you can't. And all those opinions of the people who watched it on TV mean nothing because you weren't there. So you can try to get super high res photos and put them next to each other. If you did that with a microscope, you may be able to find the difference. But the image does not transfer, it just doesn't. So
I'll
you're
tell
going
you
to have to
this
count
too. It happened to you too. When I came around the corner and ran into Andrew Jacked, I was I was stunned at the size of this. I honestly, I know he didn't win, but I got to tell you, I was just in awe.
Yeah,
It's crazy how big and muscular and everything. Just his physique is a jaw dropper, and
unbelievable. I saw him from the side, and it was like I'm looking like, what is that? His pecs were sticking straight out, and there was like a shelf. I mean, I've never seen anything like that ever. He was gigantic, and I thought, prior to him, I thought Nick Walker was the most massive guy on the planet until I stood next to Andrew Jack. Nobody can stand next to that guy size wise. No one. And if he ever figures out how to dial his condition in, forget it. He's going to be Mr. Olympia for as long as he wants.
it was nuts.
Yeah.
I will say I did have to leave um, before Mr. Olympia was crowned because I had to catch a flight, so I had to leave kind of early. So I didn't see the very end. John, did you call it? Were you
Oh yeah.
saying, you know what? Okay, I'm just curious.
I got first, second, and third right on the money, and it's
Man,
all over RX Muscle too, in case
oh,
anybody
good.
doubts.
I'm glad.
Yeah,
I kept deferring to John because it's deceiving, right? Because I've never judged. I'm not a competitor. I do know some things, but I was walking around backstage with John, and I would ask him like, "What do you think?" And he would tell me like, nope, he's holding water. No, he's not gonna. And when he saw Samson a couple times, he was like, "Dude, this dude is on point."
well, the criticism on Friday was that he wasn't sharp. He wasn't. He
Right.
was there was a film, and there was he totally true. He had a film of water over him, but I could see through that bit of detritus and say, man, if this guy tightens up by tomorrow night, lights out, it's all over. And that's exactly what he did. I don't know if it was Aceto helping him or whatever it was. He did what he had to do, and he came back. They took another look at him. They reshuffled their 1, 2, 3 score, and they put him at the top, and he absolutely deserved it. Those Hottie and Derek both had issues, and Samson did not. He was, and no matter what those two did, they were not going to beat Samson. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's yeah, it was just tough to keep up with everything, especially when you're backstage because it's not as easy to follow sometimes because there's monitors. For those who don't know, there's monitors, obviously, but there's no sound. Like the sound you're hearing
Right.
is coming from the front.
Right.
So when there's when there's what is it? Like when the bass goes off, everything
Ooh.
rattles. Like
Oh
it feels
man.
like there's an earthquake happening. So it's very, it's tough.
I
Um,
thought the mirror is going to fall off the wall in the pump up room. It was like every time that bass hit, it would like rattle, like rattling windows, but it was mirrors. And I'm thinking, holy shit, these things could pop off the wall and really cause a problem if they broke all over the floor. But it was thunderous in there. It really was loud. It was cool.
yeah. Majid Baluri says, "I finally found you. How are you, you pathetic racists? I'm not talking your stupid faces. I don't understand."
Wait, you got to read that. I want to hear it.
Says, "You know it's funny, and I know I'm not talking about your stupid face or nose. The nose must be for me. I mean, I know, I get it. Okay, I've been dealing with this nose all along forever." Or the fact that you wear hats all the time. The fact you ain't American Indian, yet you go to the Olympia and harass someone they come from Iran if they see you at the UK Arnold. Ooh. I don't even know what that means, but
I know
you
it's not
see,
funny to laugh at, people with disabilities, but that's freaking hysterical.
you seem upset. I don't know. You seem upset, but that's okay. Yes, I get it. I understand. My nose is not the prettiest thing, and I wear hats because of this. Because I haven't been home in days, and I look like a monster. So thank you for reminding me that my nose is big and I'm monstrous. But much appreciated,
Maybe
sir.
you're talking about me because my nose isn't a collector's item either. So
Maybe that's what we
could
should
be
call it.
talking
Like
about me.
two noses. Arnold lives there. I was at the Olympia. I saw you guys. Why don't you come say hi, man? Like I would.
I
That would have been
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
know. So many guys. I was reading on my social media. Everybody said, I saw Romano. I saw you. How come you didn't say anything? I mean, all you guys have something to say, but as soon as I'm standing there in front of you, everybody goes ghost.
Well, it would have been nice to put faces to names. You know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
like a lot of times you're just seeing an avatar or. I'm guessing Arnold. That looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger in your profile picture. So I don't know if you were just a doppelganger, but but no, it really was cool. We did get to meet a lot of people. I did see a ton of people come up to John. I'd say about 0 people came up to me, and that's fine. That's what I expect, and that's what I'm accustomed to. and and but yeah, it was interesting because there's times where they would come up and say, I've been reading you, I've been watching you, but they didn't say where. So it's kind of like you just think it's maybe this blanket that's everywhere, but you don't know. So it was interesting because there are people that appreciate what we're trying to do, I hope, and sometimes you just don't know. What? Wouldn't talk, dude? Oh my goodness, we're the opposite of that. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I got to tell you, I was with Frank a lot, and Frank went we were in the bathroom. We had to take a leak, and some guy came up to him while he was at the urinal looking at him. Hey, Frank Sepe, hitting him on the back. It's like, oh, but guess what? Guess what? Frank was like, hey, how you doing? Like, totally cool. Hey, how you doing? Because that's what, we're there. And we're there in a professional capacity, even though it's a little weird to be patted on the back while
While you're
while
peeing.
you're taking a
The
leak.
funny, funny thing is, you run like, because we're doing what we're doing, running around. You wait to the last second till you go to the bathroom,
Oh,
it's, or get something to drink or whatever. So the booth was literally 20 yards from the bathroom. It was like right there. It wasn't far at all. And that between the booth and that bathroom door, I could never make it without getting stopped, picture, talk. And when you got to pee that bad, I don't want to shortchange anybody, but dude, I gotta pee. So catch me on the way out. There were two guys who waited till I got out of the bathroom. Thank God they didn't follow me in, but two different times they waited for me outside. I'm like, what? This is so cool. I mean, you actually waited for me. I mean, really cool. Thank you. you know.
all right. We got a handful of questions. So
All right, good. Let's answer them.
one is Romano's opinion on Clarita ahead of Angel in 212. And we could start there. I
All right.
know, Real Report, you asked this at the Olympia. I didn't get a chance to bring it up because there was a lot of guests. He wants to know if, I'm just going to bundle a couple of them in and we can pick them off one by one. Is 33 too late to start to compete? I'm guessing he's 33 and he's looking to compete, and he wanted your opinion on that. So let's start first with, and then okay, Corky, I'll get that too. What did John see that surprised him? What did John see that he was surprised to see from a long time ago? I kind of don't understand what that question means, but
Me neither.
we'll
From a
figure
long
it
time
out.
ago.
But let's start with the top. Okay, so
Sean
212.
Clarita. Sean Clarita looked amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, you got to be there. He was, 1 and 2 in 212 probably could have gone either way. Although, it's a conditioning game. So at that point, you guys got to understand when you're at the Olympia, 1, 2, and 3 are generally almost interchangeable. Almost. I mean, you're splitting hairs. You are literally splitting hairs, really fine hairs too at that. So it's just there's just a look that if you nail it like right on the head at that particular point in time, you just look the best you've ever looked. And that's the whole game with dialing in. And Clarita just knows how to do it because of who he works with. So maybe if who he works with, maybe it's just he just knows how to do it. So you know, that's what it comes down to. Clarita is a great bodybuilder, and he deserves all the props he gets. So I
Okay.
still don't understand what he meant about the thing about a long time ago. What did I see that surprised me? If I got
Corky,
it up until there, but as soon as he threw in from a long time ago, it blew out
I
the
don't know what
rest
that
of the
means either.
question.
All right. Well, I'll get to that too. What's up, Jay? We'll get to that question next. But okay, let's we're jumping around, but whatever. We wanted questions and we wanted comments, so let's do it. So 30. Real Report asked at the Olympia, is 33 too late to start to bodybuild or to like compete? I guess because I'm guessing he's already training. So
Nope. It's never too late. It's just you could be 50 years old and start training and it's your body's going to respond. It may not respond like it did when you were 18, but you properly oil the machine and train correctly and eat correctly. There's no age limit. You could start from zero at 30 years old and end up with a great physique by the time you're 35, 37, something like that.
yeah.
Look, you guys got to understand, it takes years to build a physique. This is not something you can pick up and think, oh, in 6 months I'm going to compete and get my pro card. No, that is absolutely not going to happen. It's going to take you years. At least if you start at zero, if you're a normal guy, normal size, normal body fat, normal, it's going to take you at least 5 years to build a competitive physique. At least, bare minimum 5 years, bare minimum. So regardless of where you start, whether it's 25, 30, 35, it doesn't matter unless you're like 80. But, wherever you start in that game, expect to spend half a decade
Mhm.
getting yourself to the stage.
Now I will say there's other strategies to get a pro card, but that doesn't like you could go to very hyper local shows that are and that one person's competing in, and you can collect that. But when you do step on stage at a larger national show, you're going to be surprised. Like that's the thing, is what John is saying. To be one of these guys that's elite or in the top, 5, top 3. It doesn't just happen like that. Like it's not like Brock Lesnar jumping from UFC into
Mhm.
NFL or something like that.
And it creates a deceptive resume also because, you could be this guy that searches for the bumfucked Egypt classic and it's held in a high school and there's 2 guys in your class and you take second, which means last. You could look like a freaking obese dwarf. It doesn't matter. They're going to give you a trophy. So it's you got to have a realistic view of what you're doing. If you're out there just to collect hardware and are scouring the earth for the most obscure shows you could possibly enter,
Right.
to know
Yeah.
that there's only going to be 1 or 2 people in your class, and that's going to guarantee you a trophy, then you're just an idiot. But if you're just legit trying to find, a competitive angle for you to be a bodybuilder, then yeah, you got to start at the bottom and work your way up. But I know people. I literally know them. I had one as a client. He just wanted his trophy. He wanted his shot at a national competition. So he chose the bumfucked Egypt show in some obscure class, and he was the second, only 2 guys in the class. And he's all over social media how he's bragging how he got second. So Ricky Bobby, you got to put him in here. Well, if you're not first, you're last. In that class, that's the truth.
Jay Levsey asks, "How good was Martin Fitzwater? He looked unreal in the pictures. How did he stack up
Unreal.
against the others?"
He could easily have slid into the 3rd place slot easily. Easily. Derek and him could have traded places and no one would have complained. The thing about Lunsford is his back is ridiculous. It is such an amazing attribute. Unless you can actually look. I took a picture of him. I posted it on Facebook. He I was standing a little bit behind him and took a shot of him. He was relaxed. He was standing in line talking to people. He was not flexing. He was not holding himself in a,
Yeah.
position like this. He was just
Right.
standing there. And it just looked like mountains and mountains and mountains of
Yeah.
convoluted flesh. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable to see that.
He lifts weights.
Man, lots of them.
No, I felt that too. I didn't see any of the aftermath backstage after the placing. After the judges awarded people. What was the overall sentiment? Did you see anybody that was a little bit of like sour, or did you see mostly folks that were accepting and just professional about it? I'm curious how it shook out this year.
Well, I'm sure Hottie's not happy about
Right.
placing second. You know, I gotta as much as that guy may be misunderstood or whatever, he's got a lot of pressure on him because of the respect his country gives him for his, popularity here as a bodybuilder. And he's under an immense amount of pressure to, win for his country. And, they got the whole political issue that's going on between us. It's kind of like, on one hand, it's kind of equalizing, and on the other hand, it's kind of antagonizing. So I can't read him. He doesn't speak English really at all. So it's hard to get a good read on him. He just always looks angry. So I don't know if that's just his face, or I just never see him, backstage, on stage. He never really looks like he's enjoying himself. He just looks like he's really, really, really under pressure, or just not a happy dude. I don't know how it works, but
I don't
but
know.
other than him, I saw everybody acting really, really good. I mean, sportsmanlike, positive, good to the fans, not showcasing their how tired and angry, or not angry, but tired and drained, I should say, they were. We were drained and tired. I can imagine these guys. So I thought everybody was just spectacular. I have
Frank
no
lost his
complaint
voice.
about
I
it.
lost my voice. And I know these people are running around. They have other obligations, most of them, with their
Right.
sponsors. They have to be places. It's not, when you're working it, it's not a relaxing weekend at all. Like
No.
it's just because you have to be, you have to be as many places as you can. I didn't even get to go to the press conference or Meet the Olympians. Like I missed the press conference because of a flight, but Meet the Olympians I was supposed to go to, but there were hangups that were happening at the muscle and fitness booth that I needed to take care of, and it took a lot longer than I anticipated. So things never go to plan, and even when you do plan to go to things when you're there to work, sometimes you just have to understand that stuff goes down, and you gotta sacrifice some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I was a part of the press conference. I was on the panel,
Mhm.
so it was. Everybody bitches and moans about the press conference, but I think only because it's so long. It was almost 3 hours, of the
Oh,
press conference. But um, I think it's the only way you can actually ask these guys questions that people want to know the answers to, and if you can get a I was a little I'll admit I was a little bit unprepared because I didn't know what to expect. Nobody told me I was going to do this till the last minute. I actually had to change my flight to make it there in time. So I didn't really have a lot of what the public wanted to know. So I had to couch my questions accordingly. But also, it was kind of like Bob just called on you. I had no, you had to be kind of impromptu with whatever you were looking at. No one had to just ask me questions about the dudes, just ask me questions about the girls. There was none of that. It was off the top of your head. You had to do your best. But
well, I'm
I think
disappointed that you didn't ask the question I wanted you to ask, which was what their Halloween costumes were going to be. I thought that would have been their.
everybody
I,
would
t-
have said the Hulk. So,
I sent that to Romano. Are you going to ask this? Obviously, no, he wasn't. But yeah, a couple more questions here. Okay, so there's two. Real Report says, "Do you have a good relationship with Paul Dillette?" I remember you said that's the guy I almost killed. Did you end up seeing him? Because I know he
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
he
I
was at
saw him.
nice. And what did he
No,
say? Hey, John, was he like all weary and run away from you? Like,
no,
oh,
no, no. We,
just
look, we have
I'm
had
just
we
joking.
have always had a very friendly, good relationship. After what I accepted responsibility for what happened.
I know.
He knew that I was just acting to do the best he could. That it was just one of those things that happened, and I was responsible. And we've talked about it, we've settled it, we've gone over it, we've been friends ever since. So it's always good to see Paul.
Anybody else that you ran into that you hadn't seen in a long time, or that you weren't expecting to run into, or that it was just kind of a surprise? Because as you said, it's not every day or every month, or sometimes it's years before you end up running into people.
Well, the funny thing about these events is, and our industry in general, is that it truly is a global event. I mean, I know people literally from all over the world, from South Africa, from Italy, from England, from Russia, from everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So you can't, you keep in touch via social media or email or text or whatever as much as you can. But my friend Ron Norman said it best. If you're good friends, it doesn't matter when the last time it is you saw each other. You just fall back in like you pick up where you left off. There's no, you know, anything to attach to that. No nostalgia, no nothing. It's just boom. It's right where you left off, and that kind of is the workings of this industry in general. We only really get to see each other in mass like this at events. So every Mr. Olympia that was there, I know I'm friends with them. So I got to see Ronnie, I got to see Dexter, I got to see Jay, and it's just like I saw him yesterday. It was like, yeah, hey, what's up? You doing this, you doing that, and so I wasn't really surprised that anybody I saw. What I was not surprised about, but pleased about was that I had no negative energy there at all. Everybody I saw, I was happy to see them. They were happy to see me. There was no nothing. All of the bad blood from the past is gone. Weinberger shook my hand. Mannion hugged me. So it's all good. It's all good, and there's absolutely we're all bodybuilders, so we should all be brothers, and that's the way I felt. And it was felt definitely as soon as I walked into that building, I was boom enveloped in the fold, and it was nothing but love.
Nice. All right,
Yeah.
Jay Levsey wants to know what happened to Andrew Jack. They've seen very little regarding him. I'm guessing he means like in terms of the placings, because there was a lot of hype, and he was getting he's talked up a lot heading into it. And another question is, anyone notice Samson's pocket on his left biceps is that gear oil scar tissue site enhancement? So I guess we'll start with Andrew Jack. What happened? Because he was in the conversation the first night, a little bit at least, right? I mean, he was in the callouts. He was being moved around with
Mm.
the top three. So what happened?
The problem with a dude that big is that you just really have to be shredded. You have to be so crisp because there's so much going on, and if you're not really crisp, one detail flows into the other and you just look like a blob. In order to really be crisp and separated, you just have to be absolutely dry as a bone. And that's really hard to do when you have that much muscle because that's where the water lies. And just a little bit of it spilling out under your skin is just gonna fade or obliterate a lot of your detail when you're that huge. Like I said, the details tend to blend if you're not really giant. I mean, not really shredded. So he is just so big. God, that guy is big. I'm
I
just
know.
in awe of how huge he is. So for him to, like I said before, he could be Mr. Olympia for as long as he wants to, but he's got to dry his body out dry. And it's just really hard to do. If he can nail that, he's going to do what Samson did. He's going to climb up and fill in that slot. There's no reason for him not to podium next year. None. He could easily do it. He's just got to go that extra mile. And it's not because he doesn't want to or doesn't know how to, or it's just really, really difficult. And your body is fighting you the entire way. So in order to get there, you just really have to be good at pulling rabbits out of your hat. And he just needs a little more time in the trenches in order to do that. But he's right there. I mean, that guy is, wow, right there.
The other thing that he's got going for him is that he has that wow factor to where he can market himself and create a presence just on sheer size alone, something that Big Ramy could also do, but not many people can do that nowadays. You know what I mean? It's like they're big guys, but when you see somebody that big, you're just like, holy shit, like wow.
Yeah, it is. It's just it's like, are my eyes playing tricks with me? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when I saw him in the pump up area, he was hanging off the pull up machine thing, the gravitron, and he was just hanging there, hanging, like with his arms up like this, and there was just it would just look like dough. I mean, Play-Doh. I mean, like mountains of convolutions and lumps and bumps, and it was so much going on. It was like, holy shit, this guy is just out of this world with the muscularity. I couldn't even imagine it unless I saw it in real life, and it was just absolutely mind blowing.
Um, let me see. Who are you talking about? Let me. Okay, sorry, just responding to somebody. So, okay. Also, then, what about? Let's go back to the Samson question. Pocket on his left bicep. I didn't see it. I didn't notice it. Gear oil, scar tissue site enhancement, and then also, who's bigger, John, Andrew Jack or Prime Lou Ferrigno? So we'll start with the Samson. I didn't see that. Did you notice that? Is that something that you noticed or picked up?
I didn't notice it.
Okay.
Um,
Then,
you know,
then
look, these guys do all kinds of things to get on stage. It could be anything. It could be nothing, but
right.
you're picking nits, dude.
All right. Then what about Andrew
Ferrigno.
Jack Frigno? Okay. Really? Wow. Then I can't even imagine that. See, that's the thing. I can't imagine somebody being that big since I haven't seen it. So that's nuts that Frigno is even bigger.
Yeah, Ferrigno was well, they're pretty close. They're pretty close. The thing with Andrew is the amount of conditioning. I don't know. I can't really explain it. It's like he has so much going. It's like where Louis would have one muscle, Andrew had four. It was he was so cut up and so diced. It was unbelievable that splits and striations, and Louis was 318 pounds on stage. I mean, there was, no one in the world was as big as, I don't even think Big Ramy was as big as he was. So Louis was Louis was we forget because it's been so long since we've seen him, but if anybody digs up some of those old Chris Lund photos of Louis when he was at the '94 Olympia, you'll just blow your mind. He was just so huge. So it's that long since we've seen another guy come along that could rival him. So that's all day long, Andrew Jack.
So Chad in the road says he's glad that Sean Ray asked Hottie about walking off the stage last year. That was
Mm-hmm.
something a couple of people mentioned. You included that. And I don't think it should be controversial for Sean to ask something or anybody to ask something like that. You know what I mean? Like I think when you react like that, and this is you're supposed you're a professional at the biggest production and biggest show of the year, and you just
Mm-hmm.
bounce, you just walk off. I think that's fair game to be asked about it. So it's not. Sometimes I think anything Sean does kind of is already like people are like, oh, Sean Ray already asking something, running his mouth. But I didn't see it that way. I thought it was a really poignant question. Like, that's not. It's just not cool. But I wasn't there, and it didn't seem like it was in a rude manner. Was it? You tell me.
Not at all. Not at all. And I think to be confronted with that question was really good on Sean's part. And who better to ask that question than Sean? I tried to deal with the dropping out issue, and unfortunately, my metaphor went right over everyone's
Yeah.
head. So I tried using um, Brandon Curry as an example, and I asked him, going back to last year, you were in the hospital sick prior, just hours prior to prejudging, and you literally left the hospital and went on stage. And I thought that was really incredible. And I said, I'm sure somewhere between the hospital bed and the stage, you must have passed a mirror. And bodybuilders never give up an opportunity to look at themselves. So I'm sure you looked at yourself and said, whoa, I'm not 100%. Should I drop out? And I was making reference, obviously, to the Nick Walker thing, but no one
Right.
got it, unfortunately. So I should have been more probably specific about that and asked him
Well,
his opinion specifically about a guy like Nick Walker dropping out when got literally left the hospital and went up there. The caveat to that for me is, all of the conjecture going on about Nick Walker, none of it is concerning his health. And I think that's and again, speculation. I am speculating that the reason he dropped out has something to do with his health. And if capital if that's the case, I did not want to be the dickhead that brought that to everybody's attention. So
right.
I didn't want to accuse him of being sick. I didn't want to say he was sick. I didn't want to infer that he was sick. I just wanted to make a point that when you agree to do the contest, your picture is on the poster. It's a matter of public trust that you're going to be there. If I'm going to spend my money on a ticket, on an airplane, on a hotel room, on expensive food and drinks to be there to see the guy I wanted to see. And then I get there and then he's not there. So
Yeah.
that's the point I was trying to make. So, because you have an issue with public trust, if you're being promoted as a guy who's going to be there, you're on the poster, you're in the news, everybody's talking about you as being a contender, and then you just don't show up. That's a hard pill for some people to swallow. So I think it was a bad move. You got to just come in and take the loss and do better next year. And
Okay.
unless you're sick, if you're
Right.
sick and there's something wrong with you, then absolutely drop out. But
Okay.
if there's nothing wrong with you and you didn't peak, your body wasn't responding for whatever reason, your drugs were fake, there's whatever the reasons are that have been bandied about, on social media and online, whatever they are, irrelevant if you're not ill. If you're ill, different story. If you're not ill, you got to show up.
Greg Kovacs versus Andrew Jack, who's bigger?
Kovacs, but Kovacs was just Kovacs and probably Trevor Smith were probably two of the biggest bodybuilders that ever lived. 400 pounds plus. So you just, but when you're that huge, you're not going to win anything because it's just you can't possibly get shredded to the degree that a smaller guy can. There's just too much. There's too much mass. There's too much fluids. It's just too much. But yeah, um, those guys were in another class of human being.
Next question is from Jay. The Olympia, from all the footage he's seen, seemed way more relaxed, fun, and everyone seemed to have a better time than the last few years. Am I imagining this,
Yeah,
or was it just a better thing? I don't see. The thing is, it's hard for me to say yes or no in that sense, because when you're working it, it's much different. Like, you almost have tunnel vision, right? It's like it's very in free. I didn't even get to go out into the audience at all, like I have in past years. We would see it when I was with John. We would either watch it on the monitor, or sometimes we'd go around from the side of the stage. But
hmm,
it's tough. I mean, even I don't even get to see the actual broadcast of the show. Like, we're seeing, a lot of times we're kind of, it's weird. You think we would be, in the mix, and we're not. We're trying to figure out where to go, what to do, and how to kind of catch everything. But and also when you're working it, as far as the overall weekend goes, again, the expo, when you have to set up booths and you have to make sure that you have all the right equipment, and we were very honest about how we were missing some things and trying to piece some stuff together, which I can't even believe it came together, by the way. Somebody
yeah.
actually said, "Hey, wow, your set looks really good," and I was like, "If only you pulled back."
Our
If you
set,
pulled, if you pulled back
our
the,
set looks like it came from the Salvation Army.
I know, but they were. I guess it's looked better than the past years, obviously. But
Yeah, maybe.
to me, it was like, that's a lot of stress. But ultimately, it's not about me. I know that it's not about, and that's why I tend to lay low when things go wrong. I try to fix them on the spot and bring them up later, because it's such a big production, and it's so many different things going on, and that means so many things can go wrong, and a lot of the fires that could put out, nobody sees.
Yeah.
There's times backstage, I remember they called Dan Solomon's name, and he was walking. He was like, what? Like, he wasn't ready. And other people, because he was waiting for some other people. And but guess what? You wouldn't have known it. He went out there and he stalled. He bought time.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
but the only way you would have known it was if you saw him, like, wait, no, stall, wait, I'm not ready. But they just would get out there. So he jumped out there.
Yeah, I have never. Dan thinks on his feet like I have never seen anybody in my life. He just
Mm-hmm.
bobs and weaves perfectly. I almost didn't even want to talk to him because I knew how much was going on in his head. But no, he was just cool about it, and everything was running, and he knew who to delegate to, and bob this way, weave that way, duck that way. He was amazing. So yeah, for the guy who's running the show, that was just pretty amazing. I
Yeah,
got to give him
that's
props for that.
listen, I didn't see anybody lose their cool, and there was a million
Not
times where I
one.
felt like it could have happened, because again, it's live. It's something that's going on right then and there, and if somebody's not in the right spot, then that means something else needs to get held up. So there's a lot of different ways that things can, quote unquote, go wrong. But I guess once you find a way to turn that into the show, then nobody really
Yeah.
notices. I didn't know this. Did you? So, Trump Vance 2024 said that Chris Cormier is arguably the all-time best poser, offered to help Andrew with his posing routine and was denied. Did you know that?
First of all, Melvin Anthony is the best poser that ever lived, as far as I'm concerned. And he was there. No one asked him for help. Chris Cormier is really up there as far as posers go. He's right up there with Flex Wheeler and Kevin, and they're great, all great posers. And any of them could be certainly utilized for their advice. I didn't. You hear things all the time, but you got to hear it from the horse's mouth. Like Sergio Oliva Jr. came up to me, and I hadn't seen him in a while. We were talking about him living in Spain and being trained by Dorian, and the only way you get any accurate info on that is literally either coming from Dorian or coming from Sergio. Unless you're talking to those two, you have no idea. By the same token, unless you're actually talking to Chris, then you don't know. It's just speculation. So, um, I've heard, I literally Gold's Venice one year. I saw one. I don't remember the details exactly, but one pro was looking at another pro, just looking at him pose. And the next thing you know, you hear that they're working together, and they weren't. It was a one-time impromptu. Let me tell you, see what you look like, kind of thing. So, like I said, unless you're hearing it right from the horse's mouth, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I hear that. It's well, he says that Chris said it a few days ago. Listen, I wonder what the reason was. Maybe there was a reason there. Who knows?
Who knows?
But Chad in the road says seems like Breon Ansley always gets overlooked in Classic. He should be placing higher. He's a two-time winner. Uh, that's a good. I've heard it. I did hear his name come up a few times this weekend, and first of all, I always find him to be a refreshing person. He's always smiling. He always seems like he's in a good
Yeah.
mood, and but that's a good point. Why is he being overlooked, or has he just been, surpassed?
I think the problem is that Bumstead was so good
Mhm.
that it kind of sets the bar so high for your eyeballs to look at anybody else with any degree of, you know, actual critical thinking, because Bumstead is just that good. Now that Bumstead is retired, it sort of eliminates that from the lineup, and now you can actually judge these guys against each other and not against Bumstead. So I think next year is going to be very telling for these guys, because you got Bumstead out of the way. Now let's see who's going to take up the slack.
Well, that leads me to something, right? So Bumstead is arguably, not even arguably, I think hands down the most popular personality on the
Oh
stage
yeah,
in any
by far.
category, and
Yeah.
he's now removing himself from competition. What does that do overall to the exposure of not just classic physique, but competitors in general, right? Like he's removing himself probably to go on some, some other endeavors. I'm sure he's got plenty of options at this point. But what is what does that do? It can't be good for the sport, right?
Well, I think it is, in the sense that now we've had 6 years in a row of him being number one, and I remember back in the in the Haney days and the Coleman days, it just got okay, enough winning, give it to somebody else. I mean, there were definitely years throughout the '90s and the 2000s that you could have taken Dorian out of first and put Lavroni in, or taken Jay out of first and put Victor Martinez in. I mean, or taken Ronnie out and put Jay in. That could have happened at any time, and I thought it should have, because it makes
Right.
next year interesting. Because when you have these dynasties that just go on uninterrupted 6, 7, 8 times in a row, 10 for Iris Kyle, it's enough already. Let's see
Right, but
somebody
but
else.
also but that means that the whether it's the Olympia doesn't have him to market then, right? He doesn't
No,
have one of the most
right.
popular people to put out there. So you have to find somebody to fill that void, or maybe in this case it has to be more than one somebody, right? Because you can tally up the most popular people and it still won't reach the 25 million or whatever he's got on specific platforms. And I don't even know if that's across platforms, but that it just says something when a person can just expand and reach the mainstream. Like there's people that know, as you said, your son knows him. He doesn't really follow this, but he knows him. And same with me. There's people that sometimes people are like, hey, the mustache guy, and they know him that way. But the point is they know him, and it's I don't know. I think it's tough, right? How do you make up for that? At the same time, the show still keeps going, and it always did. Just like when say like a Jordan retired, the NBA still maintained popularity. It still
Yeah,
maintained
yeah.
revenues and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think about how that's going to how that affects it. Just like Sydney Gillen, she retired too. Now it's
Mhm.
clearly what does that do for that specific division? Maybe it's good because it opens it up for other people, as you said. But these people are popular, and it's always got to be tough when you see some of your most popular folks take off.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Sydney leaving figure is going to affect figure as much as Bumstead leaving bodybuilding. But remember, is leaving classic physique. He's not leaving the open. So the wound is not that big. But you have to understand that the majority of his following has nothing really to do with bodybuilding competitively. His following is because of the transparency he espoused with respect to his life, his lifestyle, his struggles, his victories, all of which he was just so open and genuine about that it attracted people to him. So I don't think there's a much of a loss in terms of the Olympia not being able to promote him. I think whatever he's going to do, if it at all touches this industry, is going to elevate the industry. He could, by all rights, just move on. I mean, my buddy Troy Zucolato won the Nationals, was a good bodybuilder. He was part of the Vince McMahon thing back when that started. And he has literally left bodybuilding. He's still a bodybuilder at heart, but he has left as far as his business goes and his business direction has absolutely zero to do with bodybuilding. Nothing, no crossover whatsoever. So, and he's wildly successful. So he used bodybuilding as a stepping stone onto other bigger and better things. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Arnold did that. And then Bumstead is probably going to do that. You're probably going to see him involved in other ventures that have little to nothing to do with the sport, that have a lot to do with his personality, his acumen, his ability to track people into following what he does. So those are valuable attributes for any business. So I could see him going on into, I mean, anything. He could sell air conditioners. I mean, anything he's going to do is going to be monumentally successful because of the type of person that he is. So it's
Yeah.
just whatever he's going to do.
I want the new Bumstead AC unit.
No.
But that's what I mean, right? So he it doesn't seem like he's going to have a problem finding other things to do. But in terms of the industry, especially the Olympia, because that's where he competed, uh, that's a hit.
Yeah.
It's not that it was never going to happen, right? I mean, you have to think about these things, but that's tough because he is so popular. Uh, I don't know if anybody's thought of it. Probably not, because I mean, it just happened and everybody's probably catching their breath. I wouldn't be surprised if they sleep for a week at this point.
Yeah.
They've earned it.
Yeah. The
But
thing about the Olympia, though, is it's the power of its ability to endure. And I made the point at the press conference that there is only the Super Bowl, excuse me, and the NBA Finals that can boast a 60-year uninterrupted track record of annual championships.
yeah,
No other sport can say that. So bodybuilding is in an extremely, um, you know, uh, unique position in that regard because of its ability to endure. So I see it as something that's irrespective of who competes, how they compete, what they look like. It just doesn't matter. We have an unbelievably powerful and momentous industry here that is just going to persevere no matter what. It's proven itself. So the other thing that I don't think people understand that I would like for them to ponder is that the Joe Weider model, for example, with the Olympia, the first Olympia, when Larry Scott won, there were 3 people competing
yeah,
in the class, and there was about 10 people in the audience. It didn't matter because Joe was putting on the Olympia to create content for his magazine.
hmm
So it didn't matter how many people were at the show. It didn't matter. Nothing mattered. What mattered is that he created a spectacle that could be photographed, that could be printed, articles written about, and promoted. And that was the gist of it. So now you fast forward to today, and today we're trying to please the audience. And that what happens is there's so much going on, there's so much action, there's so much activity, there's 11 divisions, there's a lot for the audience to take in, but at the end of the day, that's the fodder that you're going to promote with all year long. So you have to have these interactions, you have to have, you know, all of what goes into putting this show on. Otherwise, you got nothing to promote. So
Yeah.
it's not so much about the audience, the pay-per-view, and the crowd. It's about the content that we're going to use all the way till next year. And that's really the purpose of the show.
All right. Well, we've gone on for an hour. But one more thing is after hours on today, John, is the
Yep.
last thing.
I'm going to
Okay, you guys
record
are
that
listening.
right after this.
All right, there we go. All right, so but we're gonna wrap. We'll be back Thursday. Look, thanks a lot for all the questions, comments. That's what makes this fun for us, anyways. When
Yep.
you guys chime in, so thanks a lot for doing
Yeah,
that.
that's what I think that's what makes this show unique is that we really do have the live audience. We have so many people tuning in, asking questions, wanting to know things, following us, giving us comments, constructive criticisms, non-constructive criticism, just criticism, whatever it is. We're an open book, and I'm so happy that so many of you chime in and participate. This is really a unique opportunity for you to get up and get questions answered live and on time, and get the truth. So
Yeah, it's
keep
also
coming,
tough
guys.
because we lost two outlets that we were broadcasting on because we can't seem to locate the passwords which we're looking for. But
We're going to fix that. We are in
yes,
the process of fixing
shocking,
that.
but shockingly enough, it's weird. Twitter is where the majority of people end up watching, which is fine, which is interesting to me because that we get the fewest comments from there. But whatever. Hey, listen, we'll take what we can get. We're trying to build this thing slowly but surely. But so yeah, thanks everybody. We'll be back Thursday, and come hang out and talk to you.